Today we have the opportunity to revisit and chat with filmmaker Mike Dion, and where we want to start today is, man, if you go to revealthepath.com and if you watch this trailer
Wow.
of his latest film, it's just like
It's like
some things in life just aren't fair. Like so some people should not be able to make work this beautiful.
it's like a religious experience.
Yeah,
Going.
Mike, how proud are you of Reveal the Path?
It's I'm very proud. It's been fantastic to kind of get to that point, and thank you for the kind words on the trailer. It's definitely, the trailer is obviously one of the main things that people are going to see about the film and get a feel for it and a taste of the flavor. And in this era of being able to embed trailers and they go everywhere, that's really your advertisement for your film. So thank you, appreciate that. And that feels great, and it really stems off of Ride the Divide, and I like your shirts, by the way. So awesome. And yeah, it feels great to have, really, I guess Reveal the Path is a bit of a baton toss from Ride the Divide. The new film is not a film about an extreme race or an ultra endurance race, but there was something that we kept getting back from folks who had seen the first film, Ride the Divide, and there was really something inspirational that they commented back to us about how, after watching the film, it really sort of inspired them to get out and do something great. Whether for them it was starting to commute to work on a bicycle, or do their first 100-mile mountain bike race, or even go to get a six-pack of beer on their bicycle or something. And that was really great for us to get those comments and feedback that film really had a big effect on their course in life. After watching that film, they started doing something differently that they may not have done without watching that film. So the new film, Reveal the Path, I really started taking that idea of inspiration and aspiration, and we kind of took it to a whole new level. And I can get into it now, or if you've got some specific questions, we can. I don't want to talk too long at the beginning here.
Well, the comment I had, I think it's so appropriate that, because really, Ride the Divide, to at least to me, it represents sort of like the impossible dream almost. You have the longest, cycling race that exists on the in the world, I guess, and it's sort of like, it's this chasing this impossible dream, trying to start the race and finish the race, it just tests every part of you. And that's kind of where we are right now. That's the reason, we wanted to sort of reach out and have this opportunity to speak with you, because here we are sort of chasing our own sort of Ride the Divide, our own impossible dream by releasing our film Goodbye Promise in a very unconventional way. And so, there's sort of the impossible dream we're going after there. And then the film itself is about, when is it time to say goodbye to one's dreams. So.
And congratulations, by the way, on getting that out there. The biggest thing is taking action with anything, whether it be a huge bike race or creating a film. So many people, I think, God, I'd love to make a film someday. I have a great idea, and just taking the action to do it is, I guess I know a lot of people start off making a film, but congratulations on finishing a film, and then that step of getting it out there and finding an audience, and in most instances trying to monetize it and make your money back and or a profit. So you're absolutely right. It's following a dream and taking action and actually following through to the end and beyond. So.
Yeah. And what's also symbolic in Ride the Divide that's similar to being a filmmaker is that all of those riders that went across the Continental Divide were on their own. Like, they were responsible, right, for their own food and shelter, and sometimes they were battling wildlife or, human animals of all sorts that were, in the wildlife there, or the hiking trails and stuff. How has it been for you, sort of on your own in that same symbolic manner, where you're sort of, I know you have a great team behind you, Joe Cantwell and Hunter Weeks. So
yeah, it's been a lot easier with Reveal the Path. For me in particular, Ride the Divide was my first feature-length project. You mentioned Hunter Weeks. When we teamed up with Ride the Divide, he had 2 prior indie docs under his belt. So it's definitely having the audience that we created with Ride the Divide, the second film, keeping that same audience and building upon it, and not only your audience, but then the distribution outlets with digital and various other items has made this new film definitely easier to get out there, because you're not starting from scratch to chip away at that particular niche audience or user group, if you will, for your particular style of film. So it's been easier the second go around for sure.
Mm-hmm. And again, with the symbolism of sort of a race, you know, you have a cheer section of people, oh yeah, you know, keep going. With Ride the Divide, I'm sure a lot of those people that were going through the Continental Divide, they don't always have that, and that's very similar to being an indie filmmaker. So how do you kind of keep yourself going day in and day out, because, you know, life gets in the way, responsibilities, money, all of that. How do you kind of be your own cheer section and keep your...
You need a support system, and in my instance, I've got a wife. I have 2 kids, and just started school this last week, so it's been a lot of time to get them set up for school and everything. But it comes down to a couple things. If you do have family and friends that are a support system, just a pat on the back, you know, gosh, we believe in you. You know, you're doing a great job. And then 2, you just have to have, I think, that ingrained in you, just to, I guess you call it grit, call it tenacity, to just keep moving forward day after day, step by step, and just keep chipping away at the tasks that need to be done, and the goal that you've set up for yourself. It's difficult, and you know, you're definitely working 12, 14, 16 hours a day at it, but if it's something that you truly believe in and are excited, and for me, I'll back up a little bit to, you know, once you get to that distribution phase and people are seeing your product and giving you that feedback, there's the reward. It's almost a drug. It's, you know, it's to get out, and, you know, holding a camera for me is on location is I get a high off of that, and just being out in it and shooting and sort of that creative thing. But then you go into the edit bay and it's dark, and you're sort of isolated, and you're creating and crafting, and then you kind of get to the distribution and getting that feedback. Then there's that spike again of clapping and applause and great job. So it's a roller coaster. And when you're at those lower depth levels where it doesn't feel good and it's hard, you've just got to keep plugging.
And speaking of that, how has Matthew Lee and some of his sort of tactics to keep going inspired you? I know he's now in this other film, right? It looked like he was in the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. So the new film, Reveal the Path, we've taken Matthew Lee, which was one of the main characters from Ride the Divide, and then the other main character in this new film, Reveal the Path, his name is Kurt Refsnyder, and Kurt Refsnyder completed the Tour Divide race the summer we filmed Reveal the Path. So we filmed a bit of him up in Banff. We weren't really sure how much of the race would enter this new storyline, but we were with Kurt at the beginning of the race, and speed ahead, Kurt actually won the Tour Divide race, and then a week later he was with us starting to film Reveal the Path. So he was probably the only person in the world who has won the longest mountain bike race in the world, and then loaded up his bike and then went around the world shooting this film. So I guess so the 2 main characters are these ultra endurance athletes. And again, we wanted the new film to be a bit of that aspirational, inspirational. So we really dug in a bit and did you'll hear a lot of narration about Kurt and Matthew, really talking a lot about what makes them tick and what inspires them and what happened in their growing up and adulthood, and how they've crafted their lives so they can go live this adventurous lifestyle that really feeds their soul. So we utilized a lot of their inner thoughts with the footage, this amazing footage that we were able to capture in places like Scotland and Nepal and Switzerland, which is just amazing. So yeah, I guess to how as Matthew Lee sort of kept that inspiration going, we used his inside thoughts to really portray that along with the visuals with the new film. Oh, there's my buddy Sundance. he had to make an appearance.
Nice.
And
so hopefully he's not distracting back there.
He's taking a nice little, he's taking a nice little nap there. Mike, how much of you do we see in this film? What role do you play?
So the main crew for this was Matthew and Kurt, which I just mentioned, and then Hunter and I were the 4 main crew. Now, as we take off in Scotland, we join up with a local gentleman by the name of Jez Hastings, which was someone we met via Twitter, of all things, and then in Alaska we meet up with a bigger group of cyclists, and where we end up cycling down the coast of Alaska in a bigger group. But the main crew were the 4 of us, and Hunter and I were carrying about 20-ish pounds of camera gear in backpacks with laptops and batteries. So we had really enough battery and media cards where we could survive via our equipment in the backpacks for about 5-6 days on location with downloading and everything else. So it was really the 4 of us, and we've gotten some great feedback from the film. I guess to back up, yeah, so Hunter and I do make a few appearances in front of the camera as well, just much like what Ride the Divide, how some of the as Hunter and Anthony, the main camera crew for that film, did interact and hold conversations with the people, places, and things along the way, really to kind of help the story and the storyline kind of continue. We kept that same style with this new film, Reveal the Path. And we've gotten some feedback where people had said in some of our theatrical screenings, who were your cameramen? Who were out there filming you guys, doing all of this stuff, which felt great to us because we did our job where we covered things well enough and good enough from our perspective that people had thought we had a whole camera crew out there shooting this. So there you go.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. And since really what we want to dive into here is I guess more on the distribution side, So I guess we're talking Reveal the Path. Can you share maybe some things that you learned in distributing Ride the Divide? Some things you learned, some things you wanted, some mistakes you made, and some things you wanted to improve upon as you have begun this new path. Because I think you just started releasing this in June. Is that right? Is that when Reveal the Path has now become available?
Absolutely, yes. So the distribution, our world premiere was May 31st. So and then what we did from that world premiere on the 31st is we set up about a 25-city self-produced theatrical tour. And it's been a model that I feel sort of the sports films with it, whether it be skiing, I think really the skiing and snowboarding films had set the tone for that sort of a theatrical tour. So we had that going for us with Ride the Divide, and we did. Ride the Divide has screened 140 times now or something, and that was something we set up a lot of those screenings. We hired a promoter who set up a lot of those screenings, and then we licensed the film to bike shops, advocacy groups, bicycle clubs who use it as a fundraiser and set up their own screenings. So we kept that same model. We were on the road for about 5 weeks, and we just did a Western loop. We're here in Colorado, so we started after our world premiere, which was in Minneapolis, and the reason we started in Minneapolis was our main sponsor, Salsa Bicycles, is based there. So that was our big world premiere kickoff with them.
Right.
And then we started, like I said, in Colorado, and then we dipped down south to Texas, and then Arizona, California, on up, and then did a big loop back to Colorado and hit 25, 26 theatrical locations in about 5 weeks. And that really kind of kicked off our theatrical, our buzz, and we really got that feedback and the connection. I went out with Dominic Frizzard, who is a musician, and he did, with his producing partner Sid Green, an original soundtrack. So the soundtrack to this new film, Reveal the Path, is all original music, which was another fantastic experience to go through that. So Dominic and I were in the minivan hitting the road. So Dominic would play 4 or 5 songs prior to the film. We would show the film. We had some great T-shirts and water bottles and different things to give away after the show, and then some great interaction with folks talking about their adventures and different things. So it was really a lot of fun. And now that I am back, we're getting our digital distribution in line. We're trying to get our TV deals and our international deals in place. And I would say that's one thing maybe where I failed this go around is not having done a lot of that sort of work a little bit earlier on, because I feel we generated a lot of this big buzz while we were on our theatrical tour, and now that I'm home, we're going to, by the time we end up on iTunes and various other things, it'll probably be end of October by the time we can get out there. But we had all of our merchandise, DVDs and Blu-rays and a few other things on our website as we were out there. So we were generating sales off of our website, which I think if you're out there generating buzz, you definitely have to have something some people can buy. And ideally, in addition to the DVD, I think having a digital download at that same time is beneficial, and that's something that we did not have in place. So that's something we definitely could have done better. And I think it comes down to, like you said, there's only a handful of people working on these things. And at the same time, I should mention, we actually did 2 films this last year, Reveal the Path, and then another film, Where the Yellowstone Goes. So Hunter and I filmed both those films back to back. So we went around the world filming Reveal the Path, and we were home for 10 days, and then we started filming Where the Yellowstone Goes, which is the entire length of the Yellowstone River, 560 some miles through Montana. Was another sort of thoughtful adventure film that we put together. And then once we shot both those films, we split off, and I edited and put together Reveal the Path. Hunter split off and edited and distributed Where the Yellowstone Goes. So the core sort of support we had with Ride the Divide was split with this way. So we were kind of the force ended up splitting and became individual, I think, which then even spread things out a little bit more and made a lot of the multitasking a singular task at that point. So,
my goodness. Yes.
Wow. Well, no, I just remember John Reese and Sherry Candler just spoke very highly about how with Ride the Divide, you made them events, and they always use it sort of as a case study. And I know even for Goodbye Promise, when we screened it, I was like, oh, I want to do similar to what, Mike Dion and Hunter Weeks did and Joe Cantwell with Ride the Divide, and we tried to implement music and all of that and make it an event. So with the other film, I'm sorry, what were your plans with that? I missed.
They're running similar course. So as I was, and Dominique and I were running the theatrical for Reveal the Path, Hunter Weeks and his new bride Sarah were off doing similar events with Where the Yellowstone Goes.
Oh, okay.
So both films were out there simultaneously.
Oh, I see.
In theatrical, but now we're at the point, yes, where we're putting digital in place and trying to get the other TV and international rights sold and out there as well.
Oh, nice.
So along those lines, and anything you can share in regards to how, as you're doing the theatrical run, what's the feedback in terms of the numbers coming in for the DVD sales, and then beyond that, how are you going to go about getting the film onto the digital platforms? Which aggregator or company you're going to use to get it on iTunes, etc.
Mm-hmm. So as far as theatrical goes, it's I had support with someone I used to work with way back when that I had reached out to help coordinate the theatrical tour, and to put those 25 dates in place consecutively, it really is a lot like a touring indie band going out on tour, where maybe you start in Seattle and you work your way across the country, and every night you want to be in that next sort of city. And that's really how we put this thought about this theatrical tour is like I said, that big Western sort of loop. So, and it realistically took 2.5 months to coordinate that tour, to get it the theaters set in place on the consecutive nights, and all the contracts and the details. And the theaters that we reached out to were independent theaters in nature, and each theater works a little bit differently in that sometimes we would go out and have to rent four-wall the theater, and then oftentimes they would work on a 50-50 split. And we felt a whole lot more confident doing that with the second film, Reveal the Path, just because of the success. We knew and felt comfortable. Ride the Divide, it drew the audiences, and we knew that if we connected with a local bicycle group, a couple bicycle shops, or something in each area to help spread the word, aka a street team like a band would utilize, that really is how it became successful in each location. If you were able to tap and find a local entity, or more than one, ideally 2 or 3 in each of the cities, to really advocate for you, put up posters, add events on their Facebook page, and that's how we, and as far as we were generating anywhere from a couple $100 profit to a few $1,000s profit at each location. Wow. for the theatrical tour. And awesome. Then I guess then to the next step, the digital. So we went with New Video for Ride the Divide, and we had a couple other aggregators approach us with a new film, Reveal the Path. Cinetic Film Buff reached out to us, and then there's a specific sports aggregator called Orchard. Orchard Digital, they reached out to us as well, and we looked at all 3 of them, and we decided to go with New Video because of the relationship with Ride the Divide. And they were really in our talks with them, and Where the Yellowstone Goes, Hunter decided to utilize New Video for that as well. So now we've got the 3 films with the same aggregator, and what that allows them to do is hopefully what they call a brick. So if you go to iTunes documentary, you'll see 4 or 5 kind of buttons or bricks. And one good example I can think, when Gary Hustwaite released his 3rd film, they created, and I say they, I don't know if it was New Video who had his stuff, but you saw the Hustwaite trilogy sort of button, and then when you clicked on it, it had his 3 films and then a few other documentaries that kind of fit that same style. So in our talks with New Video, we felt beneficial because of the marketing that they could put behind having now 3 films from the same filmmakers out there.
I'm wondering, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, any tips you can offer on getting that 50-50 split with a theater? I mean, we had a tough time with that.
Yeah.
Falling around, and I know it's not an easy thing. Were there any type of things that kind of really sold it for them, or they just saw the following that you had?
I'd say if you're trying to do it in LA is impossible. We found to get any love, any support from the theatrical side of things. I think a lot of the 50-50 splits happened here in Colorado, Arizona. The Loft Cinema did a lot of some of that for us. So I think it's gonna. LA is such a film-centric place that I think LA, you're just going to have to go 4-wall it, and that's coming from a guy who lives in Colorado anyway. But it's really getting on the phone and I think because we could send theater owners to Ride the Divide's website and look at the past screenings that we had generated from there, and we've left that up on the website just so people could see. So again, it was easier the second time around, being able to convince theaters to bring on the film and to do that 50-50 split. And then in some cities we didn't want to do a 50-50 split just because we knew in Arizona, Ride the Divide generated 300 and maybe like 500 people or something like that. So we knew it was better for us to go ahead and rent the theater, and then because we knew we'd make realistically more from a ticket sales. But to get that 50-50 split from the theaters, it's really getting on the phone, and if you can prove an audience or hey, we've got a newsletter list, or we've partnered with this particular group or entity, the filmmaker user group in this particular city, and they're going to help spread the word or put it out on their newsletter list. So it's you kind of got to petition for it, prove yourself.
I'm wondering, Mike. I mean, it sounds really exhausting doing this essentially. I mean, was it literally 25 cities in 25 days? So I'm trying to imagine how are you building the momentum from city to city? You know what I mean? Because it's like it's so hard just to get the momentum in one screening, let alone be promoting and getting people ready for the next night in a totally different area. Like I can't even imagine.
You're right. It was tough, and ideally, as before you take off, if you set up those support systems before you leave, then that's ideal. But you know, there were some places, and we didn't do as good a job just because, yeah, as I was out there, I was constantly on the computer thinking 4, 5, 6 stops up, reaching out. Sending posters, hitting Facebook, you know, sending notes to the local bicycle shop and things like that to say, hey, we're coming, and you know, spread the word, or here's a poster to kind of set up there. And sometimes it's just like, I'm out of juice. Bend, Oregon it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Let's just show up and we'll do our best and we'll see what happens. So. It's having that support, and it's really kind of setting the pieces in play ahead of time realistically before you take off, because as you're trying to do it from the road, it is exhausting, and so it's pulling into Starbucks and slamming some lattes, hopping on stealing Wi-Fi for an hour, hopping back in the car, taking off again. So it's a whole other adventure. It's really, if you look at it as an adventure, if you stress out that it's got to be profitable, but if you look at it, again, I'll use that sort of indie band mentality. If you look at it that you get some face-to-face contact with people who have come out to see your thing, and if you appreciate that and make it a point to visit with them and hear their stories, that's the reward. And then if you can make money as well, even, you know, the better.
You know, Karen and I know how difficult it can be to sort of, you know, reach out to these outlets, these bicycle shops, and to actually get them to take action. You know, it's one thing to just reach out and sort of connect with them, but then, you know, what is sort of that sugary message, or that you know, how do you pitch them to get results where they want to sort of get behind you and your screening? What are you doing to help enable that or ensure that?
Sure, it's always, you know, what's in it for them. You know, if you pick up the phone or you send the email, hey, I'm doing this, I've got this, you know, you got to think about it. What's in it for the person you're reaching out to? And when we went out there, we had a few things that we would, you know, how it benefited that particular person or group or shop, in that Salsa, again, our main sponsor is Salsa Bicycles, so the dealers that repped those particular bicycles, we would say, hey, bring 2, 3, 4 of your Salsa bikes to the location. We'll set them up in the lobby. If you want to give away coupons, if you want to give away water bottles, if you want to hand out information about your shop, please come. You know, we want to create, and again, you mentioned, Karen, an event. How can we make it more, not just about us, but more about the community and cyclists getting together and having a good time. So that's one thing that we felt was a benefit to the bike shops. And then if we knew there was a strong advocacy group, like trail building, we would bring them in, and sometimes we gave 20% of ticket sales to an advocacy group, not in exchange, but for I guess in exchange, but for putting the word out there and putting up posters and emailing their particular group. So it was a bit, I think you got to think of it, what's in it for the people you're reaching out to help you spread the word and fill theaters. That's, I think, how you got to look at it.
Yeah, and I like too how if you want to call it niche, your demographic for your films, they're all very active people, and they're very passionate. You know, they enjoy life, they like being outdoors, and so I think that also helps, don't you think, that helps spread the message, because they're sort of carriers in a way, and I think that's a great, and they're very, seems like some of them, I mean, they enjoy being part of a community, although I'm sure they like being by themselves riding a bike. But I think that's great. We were talking yesterday about how can we find a film that would go to like 60-year-old golfers that used to be annuity fund managers, and that's where they would have money to buy a film. I think that's great too, that your niche, and it's not that you probably designed it that way. It's just what you're passionate about filming. And
it, not only am I passionate about filming that, but I'm a passionate cyclist myself, and have been since I was a kid racing BMX. So I feel very grateful, and that those two passions have aligned. The cycling, I guess even threefold: the cycling, the filmmaking, and even the messaging of that inspirational message, and kind of doing good, and feel like you're doing the message your film is putting out there, a bit of aspiration, inspiration, and positive vibes in folks too. So those three things coming together, it's a trifecta of awesomeness.
Yeah, that was a great. I remember our LA screening with we did it with Zach and Kevin, and it was a great time. And I just remember the energy, and everybody was pumped, and it was just a really feel good event. It was nice. I remember that.
Loved it. Yeah, no, I almost feel like I need to watch Ride the Divide right now.
yeah, me too. I need some of that inspiration and aspiration and perspiration.
Yes.
Mike, I'm just wondering, have you been able to take a look at all what we've done so far with Goodbye Promise with our Indiegogo release? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I caught it when I supported it. What was that, a week ago, maybe last weekend? And I had and again, just sort of following the Twitters and come across it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think as filmmakers, independently distributing your stuff, anytime something comes on your radar, you want to click on it and see what's going on. So yes, I was able to dig into it, and I even watched a couple of the videos like this that you did with Gregory and I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, distributor.
Adam Chapman.
Adam, sorry about that, Adam. So I watched a couple of those, and yeah, really just sort of dug into it, and loved how taking that digital approach, utilizing the crowdfunding was new and unique, and utilizing. So your cost to do something like that was zero, from writing a check or having to lay down a credit card. I'm assuming you utilized YouTube and the Indiegogo platform, so there was really no out-of-pocket cost for you. And then even from a reward perspective, you weren't giving away DVDs or T-shirts that you would have then had to print and purchase. So I think that is a great way to get your thing out there, whether it be a film or music or whatever, in that fashion, and a great way to build buzz. And yeah, I know you had put links from people who had reviewed it and talked about it. A great buzz building just from a PR perspective. And then my question is, how do you capitalize on that buzz to take it to the next level? And is there a way to capture? You put it out there from a digital YouTube perspective, but now is there something about it that people would want to spend more on, whether it be, I don't know, a T-shirt or, and again, producing 1,000 DVDs is a cost that is tough to do, or maybe not even worth doing. But from the feedback, and is there now, have you acquired enough emails from a list that you can then use as a strategy to, and I might be going off in something you didn't want to kind of hear, but what sparked me from that is, yeah, what do you do next after doing what you've done? What's next? How do you kind of keep that engagement and monetization going?
Yeah, so absolutely. No, that's what, as we get into our final days right now, that's what we're looking at. It's interesting because no one has taken this approach before to go straight to a crowdfunding platform to release the final product. So we don't know. I mean, typically with crowdfunding campaigns, there's sort of a surge at the end. and certainly we're going to do our best to create a flurry and try to get that surge here at the end. And we have no idea how far we'll be able to drive it up, and sort of depending on that is it's gonna impact what we'd like to be able to do. I mean, we certainly would like to be able to go through Adam Chapnick's distributor as a way to get it on the iTunes, get it on some other larger platforms. We'd love to be able to have enough money come in to maybe do a limited release DVD on our side of things. And certainly, you know, for those that have enjoyed the film and want to really own it and experience it that way, we'd like to enable them to do that. So we'll see. I mean, we think we have a bunch of options in front of us here.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things is you've just got to do it. If you've got this new idea and no one's done it before, well, that's great, because again, it builds buzz and it builds PR, and more people become aware of what you set up and what you're doing, and it's great. You just got to kind of keep testing and trying, and each time you test and try, again, you've reached more people and your audience has grown. So that's all part of it. That's the game. Finding audience and letting people know you exist and that thing that you've created, and getting it out there.
Yeah, and that's, with this particular film, we crowdfunded for it a couple of years ago, and that, we didn't have a production budget to start. It's literally just grabbing the camera, making the movie, and then we raised money for post-production costs. Unfortunately, the money that we raised, which was a good chunk of money, it still wasn't quite enough to get us all the way through post-production. Mm-hmm. So, to some degree, we've sort of been sputtering to the finish, like trying to take, different money that's coming in and trying to finish the film and trying to keep life afloat. And so, to some degree, it's like we're sort of sputtering, just like, hey, let's just start getting people to see this film. And that's where turning to Indiegogo, turning to YouTube, and not having to continue to put up money and just start generating money with zero cost. We haven't put any money into marketing yet or anything like that. It's just like we're just trying to get some revenue coming back in so that we can then have more options with what we want to do next.
Yeah, and that's great. Is being able to, I think that's ideal. If is being able to. Yeah, because if you're constantly swiping the credit card to market or to build, to create something that you then have to sell, and it gets tough and it gets stressful. Absolutely, but you guys have built such a massive sort of audience just by doing what you're doing. It's really a no-cost marketing tool, just via your outlets of radio and YouTube and things like that. So. You're there.
Yeah, we are fortunate in that sense, and that's also part of the thing that it took. That's part of the reason why it took 3 years to finish as well.
You've been so busy.
Yeah, we have been busy and became addicted to these shows and getting up content and things like that. So yeah, we are fortunate. We do have a platform, and even with that small platform that we do have, it is still not the easiest thing to get people to click and buy for $1 or $2. It does take some effort.
Yeah, and I keep and again I say I'm so grateful, because I think in my instance, creating these cycling and Hunter, creating these outdoor adventure films, I think it is such a passionate group of folks that if you're a cyclist or a fly fisherman, that you are into your thing so much that you're going to drop $20, $30 to watch that adventure and see something about it. So I think that's absolutely one thing we have going for us, is just the particular genre of films we create works within a great niche, a niche group. And I would say from another filmic perspective, I think horror might have that very strong, passionate following as well. So I'm just grateful that we're making films that people are hungry for and want to consume.
Yeah, very cool.
Any final thoughts or questions for Mike, Karen?
How do you recharge? It sounds like you're very busy. What do you do to recharge? Is that sort of hitting the trail with your bike and just just having time alone to sort of reflect?
It's tough to recharge. Sometimes it's taking it's taking a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which again, thankful that I can do that, and being in a cubicle office environment with coworkers around might be tough for something like that. But to recharge, I think sometimes you just kind of got to let it go, let things go for a day or half a day, and just, for me, spend time with the family and go for a hike and just kind of do homework and just sort of put it aside for a little bit. But it's kind of constantly there. Yeah, it's always something. My mind is always sort of clicking and thinking of engagement. So running, like right now, now that we've sent out all of our Reveal the Path Kickstarter rewards and all of the pre-sales, I've shipped out over this last week, and we've included some postcards and beer coasters that we had made up. So I just started a little Facebook contest. It's like, hey, show us your Reveal the Path item, whether it be the DVD or a beer coaster out on your path somewhere, and submit the poster on Facebook, and we'll randomly pick a grand prize winner, and you'll win an iPad loaded with a bunch of stuff from both films that we've stuck up there. So it's as a marketer, I guess I'm as much a marketer as a filmmaker. So my mind is constantly sort of clicking and thinking and of things like that.
Don't you think that's sort of a necessary part of it, or if someone has a team member that has that part of the brain that works? Because I think from what I've seen that where it really works is they have that creative and business side, and there's that synergy, and it just works.
It is. It's engagement. Engagement, word of mouth is, it's amazing that you say, when I take time off and I'm not that active on Facebook or Twitter or doing things, you can see sales from our website anyway just sort of take a little bit of they stall, and then as soon as you keep that engagement going, and again, honest conversational engagement with something fun, that it picks back up again. So it's very apparent that if you're actively talking about it or putting things out there, which is allowing other people to talk about it, it keeps the project going. And Ride the Divide is over 2 years old now, and we're still seeing sales from Ride the Divide and from our bundles. And I think another thing we have going for us with Ride the Divide, it is a yearly event. So every year, I think more people learn about the race, and if they're Googling about it, they'll inevitably come across the film.
Right.
So that's another benefit I feel that we've got going for us, which wasn't planned by any means. None of it so much is planned, but I think if you're aware of what's going on and kind of keep pushing those in your favor, it's a constant engagement to keep it alive.
Mike, thank you for this feedback. Thank you for this conversation. My last question is when is because Reveal the Path, is it available on DVD now or no? It is, or?
Reveal the Path is available on our website, revealthepath.com. We just got it set up on Amazon, so you can pick it up on Amazon as well. Our iTunes and digital deal, you should start seeing Reveal the Path on iTunes end of October, maybe beginning of November. Right around that time frame. So
okay. Awesome. All right, because now I'm just thinking that this conversation, I have to get a bundle. I have to get Ride the Divide and Reveal the Path, and I gotta send it to my Uncle Rich, who's an avid. I have to get him. I have to get him these two movies.
And he's in his 80s, right?
No, he's not. No, he's not in his 80s.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's in his 70s.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But
he'll be riding into his 80s.
Yeah, he's been riding for well over that, for like 20 years now, and it's just, speaking to you, it's reminding me I gotta get him both of these films. So Mike, we thank you.
Thank you.
This really means a lot to us, and we're just, you've inspired us. I walk away from this conversation just really inspired by everything you have going on.
Yeah, that's really
Thank you guys. Yeah, really appreciate it, and Yeah, and again, I think you guys are inspiring other filmmakers, again, just by doing it and putting it out there and taking that chance and showing that it's possible on all different levels. So
Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we hope to see you in LA sometime soon.
very good. Thank you. Look forward to that.
All right.
All right.